Namaste. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. I'd like to begin with the Gayatri Mantra. If you know it, you can join with me. Om Bhur-Bhuvasvaha Dhatsa Viturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Allow me to set the intention for this space as we wait our first guests to arrive, as this being a welcoming one, open for everyone to express themselves freely. May this be an inclusive space where we find refuge in each other's genuine experience of life. May we see past the differences which may divide us and embrace our diversity while seeking a unity at heart. Thank you, dear Andrea, for blessing us with a rose so early on. I am honored to have you here. You are amongst the first guests, along with Loopy Lane. Namaste, welcome. I trust that those who are coming in now are as well as they can be in this moment, regardless of what kind of circumstances they may be dealing with. That's okay. Thank you, Pantagor, for your heart me too. Hariom Tatsat. And Mandalena. I will have to ask you how I can pronounce your name better if there's room for improvement. Namaste. Thank you, Evis, for your 19 roses too, and if there's a better way I can pronounce that as well, let me know. Hare Krishna. Today is a little bit of a later live stream for those joining in the present, as I spent a good portion of my waking hours working on a recent video. I'm happy to hear that, Avis. And that video was about the concept of a guru, as per my late live stream today. But hey, I am happy to be here at all. Thank you, John Simon, for the heart me you've blessed us with too. Jai Sitaram. Namaste. And Peter Schaefer, thank you for that rose as well. Om Namah Shivaya. Ayo Sadik, thank you for your heart me too. Namaskaram. Peter, you share you're getting from Banff mountainside. That's a beautiful place. Center of Canada, maybe a little bit closer to the west. I think I've been there before when I was very young. I don't remember it. And thank you, Peter, for another rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you everyone for joining. Oh, what letter is your name? Very beautiful symbol. 4K Wings, you asked, what religion am I? Question from Kane. Must be a C then. Well, nice to meet you, Kane. You know, I consider myself a student of life, and as a part of greater humanity, I take inspiration from many different traditions, many religions, and so I can't consider myself one more than any other. Nobody, you observe that I have a desire to be listened to. It's true, you are right. Ain't hiding that. I'm very happy to be here and share my experience with the hope that it is able to be relatable. If anyone else has gone through similar things than me, then I hope to affirm you in your experience. And if there are things that I can learn from you too, I'd be happy to listen back. I know that sometimes desire can be used in a negative sense in spiritual contexts, as the path to enlightenment is one free of desires. However, I've learned that not all desires are contrary to the spiritual path. One can have a desire to serve others, and it is that kind of desire that I hope to meet you with today. And Sadik, you share that if I ever come to Turkey, I better tell you, since you want to be my guide. Well, thank you. Glad to have a friend all the way from Turkey. I love the diversity in people all around the world. And it's true. My experience is very, very little since I am young. Maybe not 15, but 22. And I have much more life ahead of me. But still, I do know what it's like to go through anxiety, and a lot of experience has been put into learning how to deal with that. I try to be mindful of those who are also going through similar things, and so I offer what little experience I have on these things with the goal of continuing to learn as I grow up too. But welcome everyone. I'd like to start with my question of the day, since we have a good amount of guests here now. Namaste. Today I'm wondering, upon seeing what calms the mind, maybe it sounds a little like a riddle, but truthfully, I leave this question open to your interpretation. There's certainly no right answer, nor is there a wrong answer. So please feel free to explore this inquiry in any direction that makes sense to you. I would love to hear from you, and please feel free to not answer if nothing comes. No expectations, but thank you, dear Hybrid Gen 2, for your TGIF. You're 3 of them. Arion Tatsat. Thank you for finding any wisdom in me, Marcy, despite my young age. I consider many people to be much, much wiser than me, and that includes you all too, as I'm amazed at the wisdom within this audience. I am but a student here to learn from you. And Carlos, you point out that I must read a lot of books. You know, it's quite funny. I was never that good at reading. My mother would always have to sign off for me. I always liked to listen to people speaking on things that they're passionate about, or watch videos. I watch a lot of videos, that's for sure. And thank you, Hybrid Gen, for another 10 TGIFs. Happy Friday, everyone. Some of you are probably in Saturday by now, since I am in a later time zone. Radhe, Radhe. Alright, time for some answers to the question of the day. Sadik, you share new bed sheets, a cake yet to be sliced, cats that are extremely fluffy. Oh yeah, I see that. Sleepy Panda Baby, you share the starry night sky. I love that, and very reminiscent of my background, although I wish we were able to see nebulas and all these colors. An old soul is what you see, dear life. You know, if one can see the soul, I think there would be a lot of calm. And the soul, the one that we all share, is older than time itself. Marcy, you share that synchronicities calm your mind, a gentle nod from the universe. I love that. Yeah. And thank you, dear Austin, for your rose as well. Jai Sita Ram. Mikhail, you share seeing me live on TikTok. Well, thank you for that. That's very kind of you. What about the times when I'm not live on TikTok? Jen, you share that you read one poem out of that Rumi book and it was cool. A frog deep in the presence. You randomly picked it. And your house has a lot of frogs. I love that. Rumi is a great poet and I'm happy to relate with you in our inspiration from that Sufi saint. Andrea, you share that when you see a child playing or an old couple still in love, you feel calm, warm, and happy. Oh, I love that so much. What a great answer. Listen, you shared by gratitude. Dom, you were wondering if I can tell you if you're going to be wealthy because you are broke right now. Well, I'm no fortune teller, but I do believe that if you set your heart to something and not let anyone take you down, I believe that every ounce of wealth that is within your destiny will come out. But the greatest treasure is always something deep within. There are many people who are wealthy and not happy, and there are many people who are poor and very happy. And there are also many people who are poor and unhappy, and people who are wealthy and happy. I hope that regardless of what circumstance you find yourself to be in, financially or otherwise, that you find a way to embrace that experience with courage, find a kind of happiness despite your surroundings. And Real, you're wondering what calms my mind, as you need help with doing that right now. There are many things that calm my mind, but the biggest step in the direction of a calm mind is an accepting mind, that we allow our thoughts to express some aspect of our experience. And if there's any way in which we can affirm our experience by reflecting on our thoughts and perhaps choosing more productive words called positive reframing, and that's wonderful. We can slowly cultivate a more positive mindset. We can take a thought like, maybe I'm scared to die, and we can honor that experience by rephrasing it in terms of, I value the preciousness that this life has to offer, and I want to embrace this moment fully. In some sense, that expresses the same experience, but perhaps in more empowering ways. Things like that. We can continue talking more of this too. And hello, dear Shakira. You share that praying calms your mind. And you like Rumi too as well, Sadik, that you shared. Mikhail, your answer to the question of the day was sitting at a river or a lake, and you love looking at the water. Ricardo, you shared realizing we are all part of a bigger picture and trusting the process. Oh, I'm mixing up my sounds. Trusting the process. Yeah. Sadik, you share that you call him Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi. The C is pronounced like J. That's right, I recall seeing on the back of this book his full name, the Persian Sufi mystic Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi. Something like that, although I'm sure you pronounce it better, being in Turkey. Shakira, you share also something that makes you calm in a weird way is knowing that this will all be over one day, and it makes you be in the moment. Brings value to what's happening now, since things are transitory. Absolutely. Loving guidance, you had shared the ocean, and I love that. And dear Rob, you are wondering if I am so in tune with myself, why am I wearing lipstick? Well, I like to turn the saturation up in my videos. I'm not actually wearing lipstick. But did you know that the reason our lips are red is because actually our whole body would look like that if it weren't for skin pigmentation. And it just happens that our lips lack pigmentation, so we can see the blood in the muscle tissue. Maybe I have very oxygenated blood too. But even if I were wearing lipstick, nothing wrong with that. People like expressing themselves through makeup, and although I don't feel the need to, I think it can bring out some features that people like to see. Lady Mocha Chocolata, you share that seeing your garden in the morning makes you calm. You love seeing clovers, reminds you of the Anahata Chakra. I love that. And Rio, you don't like the word consciousness? I love that word. But you're driving? Well, I hope you pay attention to the road. Be safe. I am close with the pronunciation of Rumi's name. Well, I can always do better. And hello, Assad. Did you share that you thought there were just less layers of skin on our lips, to be honest? Well, I've never heard that, but that may be true too. I don't know. And Georgia, you share animals of every type, all of nature. You just really feel immediate peace. I love that answer. And hello, G to infinity. Om Kalikaye Namaha. Dear Marlon. Hello, hola. There's no need to tell another guest to learn to spell. It's okay. I understood what they had expressed. Assad, you had asked how we can not feel stressed. The classic question. I like that. Let's explore that for just a moment. I'll pause our question of the day for now, but thank you everyone for exploring this with me. G to infinity, you had shared your bed, something that makes you calm upon seeing it. I love that. And breathing helps too, Georgia. Yeah. Breathing is a great way to be calm, to alleviate stress. To me, well, you know how stress has become a big part of work life. Trying to balance between work and life, which is a funny way of putting it because work is a part of life. Stress often comes when we take on responsibilities that come with a lot of expectations, when we feel like we have to provide to a certain level to fulfill some role. And to this, you might say, then there's no way around stress because I have to fulfill that role. But there's a way of fulfilling it without overburdening yourself through expectation. That what we do is we know that our best is the most that we can ever provide. And even if we don't meet the expectations of others or even ourselves, we can give ourselves a break knowing that we couldn't have done better. Or if we could have, then that's a learning experience and no reason to feel guilty over not being able to change the past. This kind of thinking, where you alleviate yourself of unrealistic expectations and recognize that your responsibilities are part of a process, I think can alleviate a lot of the stress. Ricky, you're wondering how am I streaming? I'm not familiar with that device, but I'm streaming from my laptop, from a TikTok software called TikTok Live Studio. And dear Marlon, you had asked, Aren't we all still somehow slaves with the 9-to-5 rat race? There is absolutely truth in the way you've shared that, but at the same time, there is a way of finding empowerment in our job, even if this society could be structured in a different way. And I encourage us all to be open to different kinds of structures in our work, and I hope we can pave the way for more healthy dynamics in our country, or at least in our job, in our community, in our city, and maybe that change can propagate from there. But given the fact that many people cannot change the way that work is being done, in this moment, at least we can find ways of being empowered through the service that we render others, as it's our duty, no matter how big or small. Oh, you're talking about the microphone. This is a Blue Yeti microphone. Nothing fancy. And hello, Yosand. Jason, you're wondering if there was a question of the day today. Yes. Today I was wondering, is there anything that, upon seeing it, makes you feel calm, makes your mind kind of relax? And I love that you can find that sentiment in your job, Rio. Even though sometimes you may feel like a slave. You are good at your job. It might not be the best job, but you see how much it helps others. I love that. And that's a very sensitive topic, Marlon. I'm not sure how that relates in with what we were talking about, but absolutely there should be no room for any kind of violence towards women in the workplace, especially one that takes advantage of their body. Yeah, that's very hard. Unfortunately, a lot of that kind of harassment does happen. We should be very mindful of the fact that while at work, our coworkers are our coworkers. They're someone that we collaborate with for the service that we render society. It is very sad indeed. Thank you, dear Hybrid Jen, for your Rosa as well. Radhe, Radhe. Jason, you shared your children make you feel calm. I like that answer. That's very good. Sometimes it's the opposite of that too, I imagine. But that's all part of being a parent. Alright. As you know, I like to start my lives with a bit of an introduction and a discussion, question of the day, and now I'd like to transition to reading from another section of our book called The Hidden Power in Humans by this yogi, Paramahans Swami Maheshwarananda. I think we're getting to the end of the discussion of the Anahata Chakra, the heart center. Indeed we are. Now we're just going to cover some exercises to, I guess, activate the energies surrounding our heart chakra, spiritually, symbolically, and lighten the load on our heart too, since we do carry a lot of stress and emotions there. Hello, Shadow Wolf. I am well. Thank you for asking. Lady Mocha Chocolata, you were wondering how I managed to always be so eloquent. Well, the truth is that every time I'm not, I take that as a learning experience. And then I try to incorporate what I learned from losing my cool to be even more cool next time. And Marlon, you shared that your cat, especially working the weekdays, is something that makes you calm. I like that. And hello, Anazek. All right, we're just going to finish up with some exercises for the heart chakra. There are various different exercises for the Anahata chakra, which we'll cover for posterity and conclusion of our past few weeks actually, covering this heart center. Oftentimes just reading about the exercises obviously isn't conducive to the exercise, so it might sound weird to just deliver all this information verbally, but I recommend the book and the other book by this author, which is called Yoga in Daily Life, the System, which goes deep into the physical practices. I'm just going to read this all for the sake of covering everything we have to read here. There are some asanas, some postures that specifically work on the Anahata chakra. A yoga teacher would probably know more about these, like Khatu Pranam, which literally means greetings to Khatu, the ashram of Sri Deep Narayan Mahaprabhuji. And I love that it doesn't describe it, it just gives a set of pictures to look at. So there's a sequence of a person going through a whole range of different motions, back again, where they go from the ground, reaching forward all the way up, engaging the whole body. Now there is a method of concentration on the space within the heart too, called Hridaya Kasha Dharana. That's a great set of words, isn't that? Allow me to describe an outline of that. Sit in a comfortable meditation position. Close your eyes and relax. Repeat your Guru mantra, the mantra that a Guru gives, or if you have no Guru mantra, the mantra Soham, which means I am that I am. During the entire practice, remain as an observer of any feelings, thoughts, and images that may arise. Do not judge or push anything, away, but rather try to understand and analyze everything that comes. You are standing outside all sensations and impressions purely as a witness. Imagine a light within your heart. Allow it to expand and become stronger until it fills your whole inner space. Now allow this light to radiate outwards. See yourself as light in the darkness. With your consciousness, go deeply within your heart. With your feelings, your thoughts, your whole being, get in touch with your heart chakra. Be completely within your heart. Your heart is like an infinite ocean. Dive deeply within your heart and observe the beauty of your inner world. You may possibly see different colors, symbols, landscapes, or images that you have not previously seen. Observe everything that comes and continue to go deeper and deeper into your inner space. In the depths of your heart, you feel warmth and a stream of love. Open yourself to these feelings. Accept them as a part of your own self. Simultaneously, you become aware of another feeling, awakening, indescribable joy. You feel full of joy and would like to express and give this joy to everyone. Allow the joyful energy to rise like a fountain in the space of your heart. The Hridaya Kasha, space of your heart. Wow, that's a powerful word. Hridaya Kasha, and radiate outwards. Search in the depths of your heart for an even more beautiful experience and quality. Give the energy that you have aroused a direction and a goal. For example, direct the stream of your feelings to a person you would like to do something good for. Request the divine's help and support. But do not lose yourself in the sea of emotions. Always remain aware of yourself. You are in the space of your heart, the inner temple that is the home of your soul and your true home. It is full of light and celestial music, and the fragrance of bliss, love, and freedom flow through it. With joy and love, feel the presence of the divine within your heart. Many experiences await you in the space of your heart. Sometimes it is stormy there, emotions exploding with thunder and lightning, and other times everything is peaceful and clear like a cloudless sky. Relax and do not be afraid. There is no reason and nothing to be worried about in the union with the Divine Self. Constantly repeat your mantra and dive even more deeply into your heart. Give to others some of your inner beauty. Discard all thoughts and feelings that are in any way hostile to yourself or others, and give love, understanding, forgiveness, devotion, clarity, and warmth. The one who gives receives. Feel rich through the giving. If you are unable to feel or see anything, do not be disappointed or disturbed. Direct your consciousness to the center of the chest and simply be there with pure feelings, free of doubt and certain that the divine will help you to open your Anahata Chakra. Allow the breath to flow freely and quietly, and relax body and mind. Feel how the inhalation and exhalation touch the heart. The inhalation brings a feeling of expansion and warmth, and the exhalation engenders a feeling of radiation and giving. Feel the omnipresent power of love. Be certain that you are capable of loving, forgiving, and giving. You are conscious of a deep inner desire to realize these qualities within yourself. Relax. Have no expectations. Simply be there in the space of your heart. Think of a prayer, a beautiful poem, a symbol, word, or experience, and suddenly the key that opens your inner vault will be there. May the divine open your heart wide so that you are able to give everything. You do not need to give up anything or withdraw from anything. Merge with everything and feel that you are one with yourself. You are a part of everything, and everything is a part of you. Before you leave the temple of your heart, wish for something good and beautiful. Make a resolution that all the wonderful qualities and abilities that you have recognized within yourself will manifest and become visible in your daily life. Become aware of how your sankalpa, your wish, is already beginning to fulfill itself. Allow the divine light of your heart to radiate for the joy and benefit of all. Feel pure devotion and love. Perhaps you hear God's voice, feel His blessing, or see His form. Whatever you experience in this moment is God. He comes to you in various forms. Do not suppress your feelings. Allow the love in your heart to flow to all beings, all living beings. Open your heart to the infinite. Do not have any fears that you will lose anything. Give everything, and feel how the spring of love within you constantly becomes stronger and greater. Slowly, return to the external world again. Feel your body. Be conscious of the room which you are sitting. Thank your divine self for the time you were allowed to spend with it. Sing Om 3 times and end the meditation with the mantra. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani bhashyantu, ma kaschid dukha bhag bhaved, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, which means may all be happy, may all be free of sorrow, may all be favored by fortune, may no one be unhappy. Om, peace, peace, peace. Thank you for listening, and that concludes our reading of the Anahata Chakra, the cardiac plexus, the heart center in this yogic book on the hidden power of humans. Next time we'll be talking about the Vishuddha Chakra, our throat center. So thank you for listening. Namaste. And with that, we can open our Sangha up to whatever is on our hearts and minds. Thank you again, dear Usha Bai, for sending this wonderful book for us to read together. Thank you, dear Hybrid Jen, for your stinging bee earlier. Radhe Radhe. And John F., thank you for your heart me, your friendship necklace, your finger heart, and your heart me. And a tiny diny. Yippee! And thank you, Rio, for your heart too. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. And Azek, thank you for your heart me too. Radhe Radhe. That's very true, Sadik. A big feature of this book is that it goes into an 8th chakra, which is little known between the throat, after the throat, between the third eye and the crown, which is closer to the top of the forehead, called the Bindu Chakra. I don't know much about it myself. It'll be my first time reading it with you all as we uncover it. There are many, many, many chakras in the body, and it requires a yogi to be able to explore them all. I'm certainly not qualified to speak on that which I have yet to experience. You share that it was behind the head? Oh, could be. Maybe I am wrong about that. Easy way to check, since this book covers it. I'll just go to the page that talks about its physical location. You're right. It's at the back of the head, beneath the cowlick. Interesting. Thank you for correcting me. Probably at the same level, just at the back. And thank you, Zarina Turin, for your heart me too. Om Brahm Bhairavaya Namo Namaha. And Rio, you were wondering while we were reading, how can you teach this to someone who has no discipline? Well, I like what G to Infinity added in response, that we do so with instruction and patience. Gregard G said, give them the book, beckon them to read only a page or two a day. 2 birds with 1 stone. I like that. Yeah. And with anyone, we can never force a teaching to someone who's not ready. That if they ask for us to help them in this teaching, then we do our best. And when that happens, we do so with patience, empathy, that we know what it's like to not have discipline. I know what it's like. I still know what it's like. Every day I'm learning to be just a little bit more routines and take care of myself. So remembering what that's like is very important too. No pressure. Eaty fondue. And you share that it's your first time here. You feel peace. I'm happy to hear that. Welcome. Love to accommodate your experiences in this space too. And that's right, Huey. Huey, my apologies. It is a sock on my microphone. A Yamsox. as a pun on my username, Yamsox. Also functions as a good cover to cover the plosive sounds from peaking the audio levels. I think we are going into Insomniac Edition a little bit, G2 Infinity, as our live is a little late. Yeah. Welcome, dear Magdalene, too. Georgia, you had shared that you believe that gratitude is the most undervalued in this world. I love that. Gratitude is so valuable. Gratitude is a way in which we can find ourselves to be more present instead of getting lost in future or the past and our imagination or memories. Find something in this moment that makes us comfortable to abide in it. We can be more here, more now. It is very tasteful. Thank you, Huey. I'm happy that you appreciate my goofy sock. So I think you're wondering if the hanging lights are part of the background. It looks like that, doesn't it? But no, they're real, actually. Yeah. Hello, Jacqueline. Thank you for asking how I'm doing and saying hello to everyone and asking everyone how they're doing too. I am well. Radhe Radhe. Shadow Wolf, you were wondering, how does one find self-love when one has only known to give love to everyone and everything else? Excellent question. Yeah. See, it's so good that you have been giving love to everyone and everything. Nothing wrong with that, as long as we remember that we are a part of that everything and everyone too. It's so great that you have empathy for the bodies and minds of others. Remember that we have to take care of this body and this mind too. Funny to point out, but it's good to be reminded of. And one of the selfless reasons for that, which is perhaps counterintuitive. How can self-love be selfless? Well, for example, consider maybe a mother. A mother, of course, gives her love selflessly to her child, but a mother is probably not going to be in the life of her child forever. So, of course, we can hope that the love we give them stays with them, but we also teach them how to love themselves, and we do that by loving ourselves. That's another way we can be a role model for others, is by showing others what healthy self-love looks like, which means setting boundaries. It means standing up for yourself. It means that you take care of the nutrition and physical health of this body. You exercise your mind in just the same way. Just as there are so many other people who are learning how to do that, we can learn along with them and share that journey too. Yeah. We can only have love to give when we take care of the vehicle of that love, which is the body, which is the mind. Ultimately, we are love in the most philosophical sense. The essence of a being is the space of connection, of understanding, of conscious awareness, of unconditional witnessing of the beauty of life unfold. That is who you are. That is love. We inhabit a body as our body is conducive to allowing us to fulfill that role. So we take care of this body so that we can fulfill our role. Oh, Magdalene, your answer to the question of the day. Answer of the day, I like that. Outada. AOTD is watching our love distribution system in action. I love that answer a lot. Yeah. Reminds me of what we were reading in our book, how we receive in many ways by giving. And one of the ways we receive is by seeing all the beauty that our love inspires as being a part of our love distribution system of the universe. And hello, dear Marlin. I know, I said hello to you, but every time you call my name, I feel like saying hello. You were wondering if I drank any water today. I have been drinking water, thank you. And my water bottle is nearby. Marlon, you were wondering if I think that someday the spiritual community will be accepted by the Vatican. I'm not sure. I can't make predictions in that way. Of course, we can hope that that Catholicism, as an organized structure surrounding a spiritual community of their own, they become more inclusive. And I think slowly but surely we are seeing that. I know there's a lot of ways in which that system can continue to be more inclusive, since a lot of suffering does get swept under the rug, so to speak, in that. But I have heard some beautiful things from some of the popes that would never have been spoken of decades or centuries ago. It's a slow and archaic system of change, but we can hope that any spiritual community becomes more inclusive over time, as that is the nature of the spirit, to be all-encompassing as the essence of life within everyone. Hello, Esther. You were wondering, what kind of love do you have? As you only have unconditional love, you'll probably be unmarried forever. No, you can have unconditional love in a marriage too. And it's made healthy, especially when your partner is unconditionally loving too. We may focus our love on one being, perhaps one-pointedly, but that doesn't mean our condition for our love means that it has to go to this one person. Every being has a different way of receiving love, and with a partner we may choose to be extra aware of how we can specialize in the kind of love that this person is capable of receiving. But yeah, generally, it's only natural that as our heart opens, the kinds of love we can give, we start to see that it feels so much more fulfilling to give love freely, everywhere, in a kind of universal way too. But different path is there for everyone. We've kind of been touching upon too, which in Sanskrit is known as the path of sannyasa, the path of renunciation of traditional ways of life, becoming a bit of a monk. And there's that of the grihasa, of being a householder, and that's important too. We wouldn't be alive if our parents weren't, able to share that bond of love between each other that produced us. Not everyone can be a sannyasi, otherwise there would be no more human beings to get to experience this world. And Stephen, hello. You thought we weren't getting a Sangha today. You almost resigned. Our Sangha is starting very late tonight since I was busy earlier, but I'm happy to be here and happy to see you too. And Shay, thank you for your octet of roses too. Happy to have you back. Radhe Radhe. Daydream, you had asked, what if you love someone so much, you want them to improve, but they see that as you changing them? A wonderful question, and it's so good to see the potential in a partner, because us human beings change. We can't merely be attached to how they are now, because we are both growing as people, and we have to fall in love with the way that people grow too, if we want our love to last. However, it's true also that the potential can come with expectations, and that kind of pressure can push people away. So it's important to encourage them, but still love them for exactly how they are now. That we love them just as they are in this moment. As the only way for change to happen is through unconditional acceptance of this state. How else can the path forward accommodate this journey if we don't acknowledge where we are now and what expression is possible? This discussion has a lot of nuances, like if, for example, the potential you see in them is to be kinder to you, well, then that's something that is a little more of a cautious subject, because if your boundaries are being crossed, then it's important to set boundaries there. However, if the potential is towards something that would improve their life, but doesn't affect your relationship with them, then it's okay if they never change in that way, since we're not attached to the idea we have of them, but merely happy that we get to experience whatever relationship exists in this moment. But relationships change as people do too, and we should accommodate that. Thank you, Shay, for another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 roses. Hare Ram. And Celine, thank you for your pair of roses too. Ram Ram. Dr. P, you're wondering if I know Mother God. I think Mother God is a beautiful perspective that might have been lost. Since, for example, in our Western culture, we often refer to God as a father, and that archetype has a lot of beautiful symbolism in it. But the divine doesn't have to merely be masculine. There's room for the feminine too. For example, Mother Nature. And nature herself is the divine equivalent of that source that we call the Father. And the two of them are inseparable, equal, and one with each other. And I love many Eastern traditions, especially Shaktiism, that do indeed worship God as a form of Shakti, as feminine energy. And I think that's wonderful. I love how many different conceptualizations there are of God, and I like exploring them because it makes me more versed in all of the different experiences people have in their spiritual journey. I like to accommodate them. I think the diversity of people's different views of God speaks to the diversity of us human beings, that we all have such unique experiences of life, and how we view the divine reflects that too. Thank you, Shay, for your 21 roses in addition. And another 8. You are very generous. Your roses are never necessary, but I will always acknowledge them. Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. Hello Esther, you share that you love learning everything, and you wonder why don't people want you to know everything? Would you be more insufferable the more you learn? That's an interesting question. I don't know what kind of people would not want you to learn. I think that's wonderful, and Of course, the more we learn, the more we are able to accommodate people's experience. Maybe some people believe that learning something outside of their experience would invalidate their own, but that's not true. Different subjects, different points of view, different topics to learn, they only add to our experience rather than contradict it. So I encourage you to keep learning and not let other people prevent you from doing what you love. Sadiq, you share that in Islam, you say the names Rahman and Rahim of God before doing something. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but very cool. I would love to know the etymology of those words and what they mean. Lady Mocha Chocolata, you share that people confuse romantic obsession with love. Have I ever experienced that? You rephrased it as limerence, like that. You have experienced that, and it is horrible. I think I've been the one that does that. I'm sure I've had partners that do that too, but I've learned what it's like to be on the other side of that, primarily. Especially when I was younger, I was certainly more interested in the idea of having a girlfriend than it was having someone to share an experience with. And I definitely feel ashamed for that, but at the same time, it was a learning experience, and that's how I did learn how to appreciate love that didn't make such demands on my partner. And I look back with a feeling of cringing, but I do so now that I am more experienced. Ultimately, love is about an expression of happiness rather than an extraction of happiness from the person, And it definitely doesn't feel good for people to depend on you for their happiness. Rather, we should be someone whom they can share their own innate happiness with and care for each other unconditionally. Some of the symbols in your username aren't rendering, so I'm not sure if I'll pronounce your name, but Tam Tam, you had asked if I love all people. Actually, like your typo, do I live all people? there's something we could explore in that typo too, that in some sense we are part of the life that exists within all people, and we may live through them in the sense of sharing their happiness, sharing their suffering too. I could always love more, and I am learning to find something lovable within everyone. Thank you, Shay, for another octet and a pair and a quartet of roses. Good powers of two, those are. Kalikaye Namaha. And Hybrid Jen, thank you for your trio of fires. Radhe Radhe. Sadik, you had added to the words that you shared before that it's like a creator and sustainer kind of relationship. Interesting. Thank you for sharing. And Shay, you shared that you need to change. The ways you need to change are of a mental compassion, and you're unsure how to. First thing we do is understand that where we are right now is where we need to be. And so any step forward should accommodate our experience now. Therefore, no need to be hard on yourself for existing as the way you do. We cannot change the past that led us to where we are, but we can take steps to pave our future. However, we can reflect on our past and see what we can learn from our experiences, how more compassion could have been perhaps better suited for a moment, and how compassion could also mean taking care of yourself rather than allowing others to take something from you. If we wish to bring our mind to change, that's a very slow process because we're running on ancient hardware. You know, our bodies are very primal in many ways, but our minds are so much more advanced than our body. We've almost become hackers, and we've used the Turing completeness of our mind to have an evolution of thought rather than a mere evolution of biology. As such, it can take a long time for one's mind to change, and that's okay. There's no timeline for that. But what we can do is we can repeatedly remind ourselves of the things which we would like to bring our attention to. And every time we catch ourselves bringing our attention to something else, we calmly redirect our mind back to that direction, back to the values of compassion, of patience, of serenity. And we continue to do that until it begins to stick, it begins to become a little more effortless. Georgia, you had wondered what the beads are for. They can be used for prayer. They're sometimes called prayer beads or a rosary in English. In Sanskrit, it's called a mala, and it's used for mantra japa. Mantra being an auspicious sound that invokes spiritual feelings. Japa being repetition. Each bead means a repetition of a mantra, and we can use it to focus our meditation on our mantra. Thank you, Shay, for your half a dozen roses and another 14 of them and 25 too. I think you've given enough roses by now for us to all go home with one. So thank you. Radhe, Radhe. And I love what you shared about that, Roxy, that love is the most beautiful thing ever and the most precious gift given by your God, by our God. I love that. Thank you for finding something luscious within me. A milk duct. A funny username. Obey, you had asked, should we care what other people think of us or just go with the flow? We can care to a point of not letting us limit us. If someone finds an area in which we could be more humble with, which we could be more mindful with, then it's good to consider. If they deliver that in a way that's not very considerate, then we can acknowledge that they're probably just going through pain of their own and releasing that on us, which truthfully none of our business. So if someone offers a way for us to sincerely grow, to learn, then it's wonderful. We can take that opportunity. Otherwise, we can hear them out, but not take their pain personally. Even you had shared that you think to try to take a step forward maybe, or even remain a while, a lot better than stepping backward. I'm afraid that the context in which this comment was shared at the time might have been a little lost, but I get your sentiment of change Thank you for finding positivity in me, Shay. Bruja del Bosque, you share that you love way too much, but now you feel okay with that, in peace with the fact that you love loving. That's very relatable. I'm happy for you. Saturnus, thank you for your heart me, your 3017 bracelet, and your pair of cheer you ups. Radhe Radhe. I appreciated your message the other day. It's lovely to learn about your grandfather. And up the freeway, thank you for your heart me too. Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. And Roxy, you had wondered if I am Buddhist, and do I say Om with my mala? Of course, I love the word Om. That's a great mantra, the root mantra of all mantras. I take a lot of inspiration from Buddhists. I can't be considered a Buddhist because, well, there are many Buddhists that deserve the title, as they have dedicated their life to that. I merely am inspired as just a spiritual seeker from many traditions. And hello, Esther, you had wondered what I know about altruism. Very little, just that it's a philosophical school of thought surrounding both a means for the preservation of a species, as well as a model of being good, being all true, without having any kind of false pretenses on selfish personal gain. I imagine it's much more nuanced than the words I choose to describe it, but that's due to my limited experience of it. And you love beads and mantras. Hello, Esther. I'm happy to hear that. Hello, dear Marcy. Hello, Esther. You had asked, what if you'd never learn the truth, if you never have a religion or a stable reality? Never is a strong word, and the truth is a big concept. Using the definite article, the truth. What is the truth? Well, surely it's one and expressed in many ways, and due to that, we could never understand it all at once. And so you can forgive yourself for being on a continual learning journey, and that's okay. Religion, in my opinion, is one way of embarking on a spiritual path, but there are many ways of finding the truth that don't involve any sort of structure like that, but still involve the same sentiments. And your mention of a stable reality is a funny term, because I think the one thing I know about our reality is that it's always changing, at least at the physical level. That's the Prakriti, that's the nature. But what's behind it? A kind of stillness, a kind of spaciousness. The firmament. The very place in which all of this arises, persists through, and returns to. Well, there are practices which lead us to uncover that kind of unity amidst the diversity. And our spiritual path leads us there. Tragically, Harley, you had shared that it's your birthday today. I love that. Thank you for sharing a part of your precious celebration of another trip around the sun with us. Thank you for being here. Valentina, you were wondering if something is Hindi. I might have lost the context in which this comment was posted to, but if we're talking about the mala beads, well, Hindi is a language and mala is a part of Hindi. Hindu is the culture, the spiritual environment, and malas are also a part of that, but they're a part of many other cultures too. They're in Buddhism in the form of beads from the Bodhi tree. They're in Sikhism, they're in Jainism. Catholics turn their rosary beads with the Hail Mary as well. It's a very universal tradition. I think there's even some form of beads for use in prayer in Judaism and Islam too. It's one of the most universal but yet specific practices in religions around the world. Jose, you were wondering what the word in Sanskrit I mentioned a few lives ago, meaning sending it to the fire. Ah, yes, that word is Swaha. Oh, it's a great word. You could spell it in the Latin alphabet as S-V-A-H-A, but almost all of those letters come with some subtext. For example, the V is kind of halfway between a V and a W. We purse our lips like a W, not merely bring it to our teeth like a V, but we vibrate them so it kind of sounds like a V. Sv, sv. And then the A's are double length. Svaha. Not merely svaha. And the H is also voiced too. So it's not merely just with the breath as well. It's a very ancient word spoken at the end of many mantras, particularly Vedic. Svaha. And it's a salutation to the goddess of fire, the counterpart to Agni. Because fire is used as a ritualistic burning for objects that are sent to the divine, the gods. It's also used symbolically to represent the dissolving of maybe karma, of things that bind us, as a source of light, as there was one other point, as that which brings everything to equilibrium, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I'm a little behind on my comments. I'm trying to go through them one by one, so I may answer your question in the past, relatively. I'll try to go through them a little quicker so I can get to the present. Sol Invictus, you had wondered what my ancestry is. I believe it's largely European. I think I'm a second generation Canadian, and many of my grandparents and great-grandparents lived in places like Ireland and Norway or Scotland too, but I'm not too familiar about any of those except for Ireland, as my grandmother I know is definitely Irish. And dear Cami had come in, maybe on a note of not understanding this context. Although I am in Canada, I actually don't know how to speak French. And it's true that I know very little about the big truth with a capital T. I'm definitely learning, and I hope to accommodate your experience too. So if I said anything that appeared to invalidate something that you had experienced, I hope to know that I only wish to add my perspective and not take away your own, and you are never compelled to listen. You are free to come in and out of this live stream as you wish. And hello Esther, you were wondering why some of us are so different, but people these days are not treating us like freaks. That sounds like a bit of a loaded question. I would not use the word freak to describe anyone, nor would I treat anyone like an outcast or any other connotation that that word may use. We are all very different, and I love how in our modern world we are moving towards accepting the fact that our minds are very diverse. There's a neurodiversity, and because of that many people are neurodivergent. They are unique in a way that's differing, diverging from what's typical. But I loved how we can accommodate every different expression of life. Roxy, you had asked if I believe in reincarnation. You know, for me, reincarnation is less of a belief as it is a perspective. And by perspective, I just mean a way of looking at the world, like a model. Because truthfully, there's no way of directly knowing ourselves, but we can make inferences based on, for example, so-called spiritual revelations from seers in the form of scriptures. It's clear that if there is reincarnation, there is a great deal of memory loss that comes with it, and we can point to various reasons as per why, but a lot of it is speculation. Now for me, I definitely use the perspective of reincarnation a lot in my life because I think it's an important perspective to have. It's up there with the Buddhists' right view as the first step in the eightfold path to enlightenment. And it's part of right view not because any other view is wrong, but because something changes if we keep this idea in mind. It's very beautiful. You can try for yourself. It's a practice rather than a belief system, that if you go through your life with the perspective that all of this is some kind of continuation, that some aspect of our being is beyond the body and mind and therefore not subject to the same beginnings and ends, then we just go about life differently. Our behavior changes, the way in which we see ourselves and other changes, our relationships change, and I hope that you discover that it changes in a way that makes the world a little more peaceful for you and everyone. That there's something about this view that is very relieving, something about this perspective that almost fills in a gap, and it's not that that's evidence for it being true, it's the practicality of that making such a profound difference on our life, which makes it a part of a right view. But I think we could use more accommodating terms than right versus wrong. It's maybe a whole view. It's an expansive view, I think. That kind of view opens us up. I think I finally made my way back to the present moment in terms of comments, so I can respond a little more in the moment. But ironically, now I'm a little behind on acknowledging gifts, so let's see. Thank you, Hybrid Gen, for your trio of disco loves, your heart me, and your quintet of W's, and a quartet of applause. There's some claps for you too. Thank you. Namaste. Babblefishy, thank you for your quartet of roses as well. Radhe, Radhe. And Avis, thank you for your quintet of roses. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Dear Gabriella, thank you for that heart me too. So what's the left view? That's funny, Billy. Yeah, if the right view, having reincarnation. Actually, there is an idea in yoga of the right hand path and the left hand path. I don't know much about it other than that it's something that exists. I'll have to look into it. Maybe there's a perspective that exists on the left-hand path that can be contrasted with the idea of reincarnation in a right-hand path. I don't know. And Lauren, thank you for your trio of roses too. Radhe, Radhe. You had asked, by the way, how did I get here? As you remember me being different not so long ago. Indeed, when I started making TikTok videos, well, there was an evolution. I started making just funny videos, just little joke videos. But the first video that went viral was a reimagining of the first verse of the Bible. And I made a lot of videos about different verses in the Bible. And then I started exploring my passion of mathematics with that audience too, and that seemed to like it, my passion for physics. And my biggest theme was provoking people with new perspectives. And some part of me finds a lot of satisfaction in that. But what I wasn't so honest about was that behind the scenes, it's not like I was a very peaceful person. Actually, I would often get upset with people in my life, and I would have anxiety attacks too. And I stopped making videos after a while to focus on my mental health. And during that time, I learned that if I do have an internet presence, I think the best way forward is a different approach. That I don't need to mask myself and pretend to be someone who knows everything and share it in a drilling way that gets people to wake up, so to speak. That, you know, what I really need from my own experience of going through anxiety is just a kind of inclusive, affirmative approach, which leads to not thoughts that keep you up at night, not intellectual meanderings, but a holistic, spiritual, a deeply validating kind of communal space. And that has been my attention for the space too. You shared that my videos were not jokes. No, actually, I'm talking about memes that I started posting. You probably didn't see them. There was a joke of plugging in a keyboard into itself and having it light up. And there was a joke of when you accidentally type laughing emoji, construction emoji, laughing emoji. Just little skits like that. But I'm happy that of the other videos too, that you took them sincerely. And I'm happy to hear that. And thank you for being here, Gerlin. Oh, I always forget if your name is a soft G, ja, or a hard G, ga. Thank you for your blessings too. Purusha's mouth, you ask, is math the answer to the universe? A very interesting question. Math is a language through which we may express truths of this universe. Indeed. For me, math was not a conclusion, not a conclusive kind of realization. It was a doorway which led me to spirituality. I found that at the heart of my quest for finding truth in math, that there is something beyond even mathematics, which was a very big thing for me to let go of eventually too. But it led me to a lot of peace as well. Hello, spaghetti on a plate. I'm happy you like my hair, David's mom. I think hair can be like a river, that it flows. That's a good feeling to me. Roxy, you're wondering if I believe in karma. And you are sorry if you ask too much questions. Not at all, don't be sorry. I'm happy to accommodate your questions. I'm sorry if it feels like I can't get around to answer all of them, since sometimes there can be more questions than I can answer. Karma, I made a video about recently, a few weeks ago, on the nature of karma yoga, on the philosophy of action. Yoga can be described as a philosophy. It's one of the 6 classical schools of thought in ancient India. It's a very practical philosophy. That's why when we hear the word yoga, we often think of what we can do with our body. But there is a deep philosophical component too. That's what yoga involves. But karma, by definition, just means action too. And because Sanskrit is such a spiritual, philosophical language, there is a philosophy surrounding our actions. I believe there's a way of understanding this word karma that doesn't even require belief. It's just a natural kind of phenomena. And I very much encourage you to watch that video, as it's one of my favorite videos. But in summary, actions are how we express ourselves. And because we express ourselves through them, we can get lost in the ways in which we give ourselves to things that may or may not happen, because along with our actions may come an intention, and that intention may come with an expectation. That expectation may come with an attachment, and attachments might come to something that we may lose or something that we may gain that's out of our control. And so our actions may be associated with suffering and our happiness. And it's good to be aware of how our actions do affect our suffering or happiness. And there is a way of acting, of engaging in karma without binding ourselves to the result, meaning that we make peace with the outcome before it happens, thus we don't inflict karmic bondage. When we go forth in life making peace with the outcomes of our actions, or another way of saying that is only pursuing the actions which we've already made peace with what could possibly lead therefrom, then our actions become a gift in and of themselves, and we are no longer bound by the results, no longer seeking some favorable gain or unfavorable loss. This all has to do with the philosophy of karma yoga. The third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is all about karma yoga too, and that's a great source that I referenced heavily while making that video. Billy, you had asked, do I believe we get reunited with loved ones after death? It's difficult to say. I want to believe so. And according to the perspective of reincarnation, then we are always being reunited with our loved ones. We just don't realize it. But maybe our heart does in another way. Maybe that deep bond that you suddenly have with someone, that kind of instant click that comes from sharing something beautiful in a previous life. Maybe the reason that our puppy loves us so much is because before they were maybe a brother or a sister or a mother or a son. Maybe even in the same life of yours, but in different life of theirs. You could have lost someone in your life and then they've come back to you as a child or as a puppy. In that way, I think we are already reunited with loved ones that we lose in this very life too. I think that's a very uplifting perspective. Some people may have different perspectives, and that's okay. Whatever you find to be the most uplifting, let that sit in your heart. And dear spaghetti on a plate, thank you for your subscription again. I am very grateful that I have this space that we can share together. I'm happy to accommodate you here. And David's mom, you shared that your best friend passed, but I have a very peaceful presence. Well, I certainly could never replace the presence of your best friend, but I'm grateful that I am able to know of you and a piece of your story that you are working through, and in any way in which I can affirm to you that your relationship is still valuable, even if it's now at a different level. You are in some physical form, they are in a more spiritual form, whatever that means to you, but they continue to love you, and you continue to love them. I am sorry for your loss. And sweet, you are wondering what I was reading on the rosary. I'm mostly just fidgeting with it today, but every time I have a moment, I mentally chant Om Krim Kalikaye Namaha, which means salutations to the side of the mother that often gets suppressed, Kali, the dark side that is still very beautiful, though not seen as so in our society. And I'm grateful that even if we have different experiences regarding this, that there is still respect, and I love that. Something which always breaks my heart a little bit is the concept of disagreement, because I rarely feel like I disagree with anything, because there's always truth in everyone's perspectives. People may disagree with me, but that doesn't mean I don't agree with them. Some people believe that after death there is nothing. Some people believe that after death there may be a heaven or a hell. In some sense, I believe we're all right, just in different ways. And so I agree within the way in which we are all right. As long as we can find the truth in each other's perspectives, then that's all that matters. Abridjan, you sound like you're in the process of making a mala of your own. You found 80 10mm beautiful beads. Now you just need 28 more. That'll be a big mala. Maybe this long. It's beautiful. Yes. And don't forget the Guru bead, which makes the 109th. It's not chanted on and is strung differently, as both threads go through the same side out the top. And dear Sadik, you shared that. You feel like I'm more likely to choose a truth that benefits you because you seek peace. I understand the way in which you are expressing this. I will say that I believe that the highest truths are the ones that bring about peace, because the highest truth means the one that is whole, the one that is all-inclusive, that which contains, that which accommodates everything. That sounds very peaceful to me. There are hard truths, no doubt about that, but the hardness is not in the nature of the truth itself. It's in our own ability, or lack thereof, to accommodate it or find value in it. To me, the definition of truth means that which gives rise to peace. Anything that does not, well, what does it mean if it didn't? We can explore that. If a truth did not give rise to peace, that either means that we have yet to understand it, and it truly is peaceful, we just have yet to find that perspective, or that it leads to something different than peace. Maybe it gives rise to some kind of fear. Maybe it gives rise to some kind of shame. Maybe it gives rise to some kind of guilt. Maybe it gives rise to some kind of sadness. Even though those are valid experiences, they also come up because of some limitation. That a negative experience means an absence, something which we have negated from our own, and therefore something can fill that with that presence. Therefore, there's still something more to realize. That is why I believe a truth which is fully inclusive to our experience is one that gives rise to peace. And thank you, smiley face, frowny face, for your hanging lights. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But you are right in that many people look for that which comforts them, and that is natural, but I can improve upon being aware of the fact that maybe I am doing that in some ways too. There is a beautiful truth to going outside our comfort zone too, and a lot of discovery happens there as well. Thank you for being here, dear Lauren. Hello, Esther. You share that you lost your mala to the river. Oh, that's very beautiful in many ways. If it was a memento, I am sorry, but sometimes it can feel liberating to lose an object of spiritual value, because it means that our journey with it has come to fruition. And perhaps someone else will find it and go, hey, the universe has given me a mala. It washed down the river and into my hands. Maybe you became a miracle for someone else. I don't know. Who knows? And hello, Olski. You just finished work there in the United Kingdoms. I imagine it's very late for you there, so you must have had a night shift. Deserving of some rest soon, I trust. Thank you, Jen, for your balloons too. Radhe, Radhe. So what, you were wondering if I can do that mantra sometime soon? I would be happy to. You just have to remind me which one you were referring to. David, you shared that you get distracted. How can you calm your mind from anxiety and worry? When we are feeling anxious and worried, we can allow ourselves this experience. And it sounds counterintuitive, because your mind might think that wouldn't allowing it just give rise to more of it? Since that is in part the definition of allowance. To allow something means that we invite it. And that's true. But something special happens when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to negativity, that if we invite it sincerely, to learn from it, to value the underlying truth which may be expressed in perhaps an unhealthy or wounded way, then we can befriend it in the same way that someone who may be hostile to you, if we, instead of reacting in the same way out of negativity, respond with a kind of inclusivity, that may be just what they need to go, oh, and they change the relationship with you. So too, you can see anxiety as that kind of misunderstood feeling. And if we are curious about it, we explore it whilst doing everything we can to set boundaries with others and ensure that our responsibilities are met and that our body is taken care of, yada yada yada, then that experience can become a fruitful one. It just requires a kind of radical shift in perspective in this way that leads to compassion towards the feelings of anxiety and worry itself. Naturally, as well, I will add that the mind, chaotic by nature, so there is a kind of acceptance that must come to the state of the mind itself in the moment, that if we're trying to change it, that can only agitate it as well, since the mind can act like an independent creature of its own. Trying to control it just frustrates it more. So we can almost let it be. Wait out the anxiety, because it always passes. Physiologically, you cannot stay in a state of fear forever. You must feel more comfortable at some point. And when we are more comfortable, we can reflect on that experience and ask, how can we make adjustments in our life so we can prevent that too? I hope some of those ideas help. We can continue exploring this as well. And JV, thank you for those trio finger hearts you sent while we were talking about this. Radhe, Radhe. Letter K, you were wondering what my pronouns are. You are free to see me as makes sense to you. Many people see that as I am born with the body of a male, that the he, him pronouns work best for them. Some people might not see that, see my femininity and refer to me as a she, her. It's rare, but even in those cases, I don't mind. I think we are both feminine and masculine, no matter what kind of body we have. If you want to refer to me as they, no problem too. I don't mind, whatever's easiest for you. And besides, what we're asking about is a third person pronoun, which means that you're wondering what would be a respectful thing to call me when talking to someone else about me. Because in the first person, it's I and me. In the second person, it's you and your. In the third person, well, that means I must not be there. So you are welcome to use whatever makes sense to you, since I can't tell you. But I'm very grateful that you would like to ask me anyway. Thank you, smiley face, frowny face, for your half a dozen roses. Radhe, Radhe. And Hybrid Jen, thank you for your dozen roses too. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Oh, thank you for finding aspects of the divine within me, Oski. That's very humbling. I see the same within you. And we refer to that omnipresence in the masculine, but just as there is that Purushaha, divine masculine here in everyone, there is also the Prakriti, the body, the nature that we've inherited from our mother, Mother Nature and Mother Earth. And so absolutely there is feminine aspect happening simultaneously too. I also made a video about Prakriti and Purusha, of this primordial concept of the feminine and masculine from a very, very non-biological sense, I will say, a spiritual view. I like that video a lot. I'm happy with it. So if anyone's interested in exploring gender from a spiritual perspective, I think that video makes a good start, but I'm always happy to explore other perspectives also. And hello, dear one with an Arabic name. from Beirut. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your homeland in the right way, but happy to have you here, my friend. And smiley face for any face. Thank you for another rose too. Where is the video? Ask JV. Should be there. I think in the cover I just have the two words Prakriti Purush. Caption is something like the nature of Prakriti Purush. I don't know. And Haley, you were wondering if I actually like yams. A good question, a very pertinent one. Actually, I love yams, and if I have the option for yams over some other tuber, I love that word too. I usually will go for that. I love yam fries too. Haley, you shared that it's your birthday today. Wow, that makes two people in the Sangha that share a birthday today. And I'm grateful that I get to have a space where you get to have a part of your birthday celebrated here. And yeah, I would like to dedicate the next few moments to you as we reflect on the fact that you've successfully completed a trip around our star, our sun. Solar reflection of the journey you've had through the 4 seasons, the 12 constellations. Congratulations on being wiser, being more experienced, and my wishes for many more. I am still on, dear Taylor, and I am a little late today starting, so I am probably going to end the live over the next 20 minutes or so too, so it's good to be mindful of that. And Danny, you shared that there are 13 months though, so what do I say about that? Indeed. Months come from the cycle of the moon, and in our solar calendar, we try to fit the cycles of the moon into it, but the truth is that it does not evenly go into 365 days in 12 or 13 months. It's something in between. But going by the moon, be very different way of tracking time. I think there's a beautiful metaphor in going by the sun or the moon, since that has been a pair of two very symbolic celestial bodies, part of our culture for thousands of years. You'll find that matriarchal societies often go by the moon. And the moon is revered as a goddess in many cultures too, especially indigenous. Mother Moon, triple moon goddess, Lunar. She refers to the feminine. And so too societies that are matriarchal often go by a lunar calendar. They are seafaring, the ocean being the womb of life, our tides always changing. Thank you, David's mom, for your quartet of disco loves and your quintet of roses too. Radhe, Radhe. And dear Peter, thank you for your rose as well. Jaya Sitaram. We have 3 birthdays today, Marlon. Oh my goodness. Wow. That is wonderful. And my friend from Beirut, you were wondering how many beads are on my mala. The standard number is 108, and I've triple checked that. I always do that with my malas, because oftentimes I do get a mala that doesn't have that many. It's happened before, so now I make the effort to always count 108 besides the Guru bead, which makes 109. And dear Pleiadian, thank you for your heart, me too. Radhe, oh Radhe. And Usha, thank you for your tiny, and your finger heart too. There's one for you too, bye. Radhe, oh Radhe. Haley, you're wondering if I am going to make more speedrun math. That's a very old reference. I don't think so. Well, I might visit it in the future again. I don't know, but probably not. I think I've kind of gone from math to other things, and from speed to a more slow pace in the things I do. Therefore, I think the concept of speedrunning math is something that I'm growing from and into something different. Pleiadian, thank you for your 10 team bracelets as well. Namah Shakti Shivaya. Billy, you're wondering if I receive physical hugs on a daily basis. I try to. I certainly hug my mother every time I see her. Right now she's traveling, so I didn't get a hug today yet, but I can go hug a tree, since they're always so huggable. Except for those trees that are actually dangerous, you know? Some trees are poisonous, the sap in their bark, or they drop heavy things that explode. Fortunately, those kinds of trees are not the ones I'm referring to. Oski, you were wondering if I think patrilineage is an arbitrary concept. No, there's very real symbolism in it. The same as a matrilineage too. Could we run our society off of it though? Probably not. But biologically there's a lot of significance. For example, the Y chromosome can only come from a father, and so Y chromosomes are a genetic reminder of a preserved patrilineage, and that can use to be studied for the evolution of our genealogy, of our species and many others too. That's very cool. And there's the X chromosome too, but because that comes from both parents, it can't be used in the same way to describe a maternal lineage. However, there is an equivalent, and that's our mitochondrial DNA. Inside the mitochondria in each of our cells, there is unique DNA that comes from our mother and only our mother. So genetically too, there is some precedence for maternal lineage. In those ways, there are aspects of our father's father within us, our father's father's father, our father's 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 father, etc. for those that have a Y chromosome. And for those with mitochondrial DNA, which is everyone, well, we all have our mother's DNA then, and our mother's mothers, and our mother's mother's mother, and that's preserved very beautifully. I think it is important to know where our family comes from, since we have a duty in some sense to our ancestors, since many of them, well, all of them literally have paved the way for our existence in this body. And we have a responsibility for the generational trauma that often comes from our parents too, to dissolve that, and if we are to bear children, that we don't pass on the trauma to them. Mitochondria is very mysterious. It's very beautifully symbolic that multicellular organisms, animals, would not exist without a very special event that happened long ago in our past, where two cells became one. That originally cells didn't have mitochondria, And there were other creatures that were just like mitochondria by themselves. And I guess the cell absorbed the mitochondria, and so it globbed over it, and it made of a bubble of its own membrane around the cell. And so for a moment, that cell had two membranes before it would be eaten and used as fuel for parts and nutrients. But something different happened. That mitochondria produced energy for that cell. And so the cell said, I don't need to eat you, I can keep you there. And that's why still to this day, the mitochondria in animal cells, it has two membranes. From the time that one was absorbed as another life form, it just didn't get eaten. That's why it has its own DNA as well. And that is why, I don't think there was another point there. But there's a similar story with plant cells too, with the chloroplasts, which are the equivalent of the mitochondria. And some people think that that happened independently too, which is a beautiful symbiosis of two organisms becoming one. And somehow or another, that mitochondria divided with that cell, and so a copy of it remained in the cells that descended from it too. That includes all of the cells in our bodies. I love that. It kind of is like a motherly relationship in both directions. Hybrid Jen, thank you for your friendship necklace as well. Radhe Radhe. And hello, dear Chuck. Thank you for your virtual hugs, Billy. And that's true, Olski. Poison trees need love too. And you're right, Marlon. Many indigenous people also revere the sun along with the moon. Pleiadian starseed, you were wondering if I belong to any starseed family. I'm sure that there's some perspective which you could find, and that I do, but it's not the kind of perspective that I particularly resonate with, because I feel like Earth is my home, and I like feeling that we're all from the same place ultimately, and I want to be careful with the idea that I'm here for the liberation of others, because that might be conducive to the idea that I'm in some way more spiritually advanced, and I see myself as totally equal regardless of where we all come from. In that way, I see myself as an earthling. I see myself as made of stardust, since all of the components that make up Earth, they come from the star that blew up, producing a planetary nebula as well. And therefore, we are all literally made of stardust. And in that way, I love the metaphor that we are from stars, and we are like seeds in that we plant in our environment and grow and blossom, and we propagate all that beauty we have within us too. I think we all are like that, perhaps in different ways. Thank you, dear Ron, for your heart me and half a dozen finger hearts as well. I wish to give you one too. Hare Krishna. Thank you for asking. And Dob Darker, thank you for your heart me too. Hello, dear Chuck. I am sorry to hear that you've been in a predicament and that perhaps there have been some misunderstandings, but I'm happy to have you here. Egypt, you shared that your family is super religious and you're on a spiritual journey they don't understand. What should you do? Well, your parents have a vision for you because they feel the value in their tradition and they don't know of anything outside of that. And naturally, a parent is going to want for their child happiness, love, and the way that they have received that is the way that they know will work for you too. But you're a different person than they are, and you are exploring something new. And I think it's important that each generation does explore something new too, while taking inspiration from the past. In any way you can remind them that they're also on a spiritual journey, and we're ultimately all headed towards peace and love and truth. We just have to put in that effort, otherwise it won't happen. And you are putting in that effort. I am always reminded of the metaphor of a mountain, that some people approach the mountain from the west, some people approach it from the east, some from the north, some from the south. Other people spiral around all the cardinal directions till they get to the top. Some people climb the rock wall directly and take very treacherous paths to get there. Some people take their time and wait for a guide and slowly and surely crawl their way up. There are different ways of getting up the mountain, but there's one mountain top. Isn't there? There has to be only one point that's higher than all other points. So as long as you are getting higher, then you must get there eventually. And you know that you're getting higher when you feel like you're getting closer to the top, that you're getting closer to what it means to be there. So to maybe your family being religious, they feel like God is the ultimate goal, and they describe it like that, as attainment of maybe an abode of the divine. And with that idea comes a lot of peace and love and understanding, which is what the source means. And since we're all headed towards that, just in different ways, you can affirm to your parents that if they see that you're becoming more peaceful, you're becoming more full of love and understanding, then you must be getting closer to the very same thing that they want to be getting closer to as well. I think that's the easiest criteria for whether a path is meant for you. Do you feel like you're getting closer to the source, getting closer to love, harmony, truth, understanding, patience, empathy, all inclusivity, trust, communion? Then you must be getting closer to the source. Because the only way for you to accommodate those virtues is to go to the place in which those virtues come from. So, fret not. And best of wishes to your journey. And thank you, dear Starlight Wow, for your quintet of tiny nines as well. Yippee! And Tanhaoyu, thank you for your heart meet too. Namah Shakti Shivaya. Thank you, Spiritual Vibes, for that heart meet too. Dum Durgai Namaha. And dear Hybrid Jen, thank you for your quartet of balloons. Radhe Radhe. And Olivia, you share a commonly cited reference from the Christian tradition where Jesus says very provocatively, I am the way, the truth, and the light, and only through me can one reach the Father. It's a very beautiful verse, and I love it a lot. And I have so much faith in the Christian tradition, even though I don't consider myself a Christian. I consider myself a spiritual student of humanity and all of the different traditions that stem from our universal, our global heritage, and all the different cultures and subcultures. Anyway, although I love that verse, and there's absolutely truth in it, I think it can also be used to suppress the paths of others by claiming that their path must not be the way, the truth, and the light either. But I think there's a way in which actually Jesus represents the universal path. Yes, indeed, the way, the truth, the light, the same path tread by everyone on their own individual spiritual journeys. So he's affirming that he represents something universal, something applicable for everyone. And in that way, I think we can share this in a way that uplifts everyone's path too. So I am very cautious about having those words being shared in spiritual spaces. As long as we're not excluding other people's paths, it's okay though. And Ron, you can relate with what we were talking about earlier, about how your mom worries for your soul as she believes in heaven and hell, but you are spiritual rather than religious. It's only natural that if she believes in hell, she's going to be afraid of your eternal damnation, and she wants for your eternal salvation. I think there's a way of acknowledging that heaven and hell are real, but in a way which exists now. That these dimensions of life happen within each human life. That we are responsible for making this life either a heaven or a hell. Just as in the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That to me, heaven refers to the potential that exists in this space. And I think this is a secret that maybe a lot of people have yet to awaken to. That actually heaven's something within, just as Jesus also said somewhere in the Bible, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Well, if it's within, and in the Lord's Prayer, we pray that the will be done in heaven as it is, or on earth as it is in heaven, then that sounds like a responsibility of ours, that we are already situated within that space. We have yet to bring that potential here, outside, to the world before us. Otherwise, we'd be perhaps making a mess out of it. And I think that empowers one to make a change and be present and live for something in this moment rather than in another moment, in another life. I am going to pause my alarm since I see my phone is vibrating. Sorry about that. And seems like a couple different people here come from the Christian tradition. Polly, you are very expressive, and I'm happy that you have so much faith. Thank you for bringing your perspective here. This is a non-denominational space, and I love how each religion has something unique to offer. And there's some beautiful specialties that you'll find in the Christian path that are unlike any other. And I'm happy to talk about those, as long as we do so without taking away from other people's faith. Otherwise, I will have to mute people, because this is a space for spiritual exploration. We can explore different faiths without any kind of exclusivity to one more than another. And I'm so happy that many people have found lots of love and faith in the divine in a form that speaks to them, like Jesus. I really like the idea that complements this from the Hindu tradition, that each person has an Ishta Deva, which means a personal form of the divine that speaks to their heart. And it may be different, just as in Christianity, some people prefer the baby form, some people prefer the adult form, some people prefer maybe the Holy Mother. In Catholicism, Mother Mary is sometimes seen as a form of the divine. Some people prefer the higher self, the Father. Some people prefer the Holy Spirit. And I love how many different forms there are in each tradition. And in the same way that all of those forms express the same divinity, that I hope we can all appreciate that all of the religions around the world point to the same divinity. And that's what I love about having an inclusive view, is that when we recognize that it's one divinity within every way of being, within each person, within each form, within each tradition, then we really see the power of that one expressing itself in many ways. Though we don't have to practice all religions, we can absolutely specialize in one if you want to at all. We can learn from other traditions too, as they enhance our own. I'm happy to hear that you agree with that, Polly. But you do also share that the only way we can find salvation is through Jesus. I would be very careful about those word choices, because that implies that anyone seeking salvation in another way is wrong, and that's not kind to the divinity that they genuinely experience in their path, just as you experienced a genuine divinity in the Christ. So I'm gonna ask you just one more time that I would like all words to be inclusive to other people's path. And that means that we refrain from using words that claim one way is right and therefore others are wrong. And thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your paper crane too. Radhe, Radhe. And D-Minister, you bring up an interesting point, that only truth matters. So if we offend people, then so what? Because offensive is not the way that the divine would want us to be. Indeed, we have an ability to share our faith with others, but if it impedes on their own natural growth, then we're taking away from the value of their unique journey. We can have trust in the divine, that the divine is looking out for them, and we don't need to intervene them. And again, since I know you are very passionate about this topic, which is beautiful and fitting, since the word passion does come to mind with the passion of the Christ, I will say that if vocabulary is used to limit a person's spiritual path to one way rather than another, then I will mute as well. And it's true, Dober, you bring up another point, that Jesus said to pick up the sword, and there's a beautiful story of him asking the Father of whether he should go the way of the heart or the way of the axe, and an axe revealed to him. So clearly, his father was telling him that there is some room for provocation, for direct force. But we must remember the reason that the Father showed that sign to the Christ, which was because they were using the temple in Jerusalem for economy, for economic purposes. People were paying for blessings, and it became something that was not spiritual. So that symbolism of fighting for what's right is not to suppress other people's religion. It's to fight for social justice, which is what Jesus did in that moment, since the ways in which his fellow Jews were being treated by the Roman occupancy was unfair. So absolutely there is a passion that comes with Christianity, but in my opinion it refers to the passion of creating change for growth in our society, rather than fighting others over who is right or who is wrong. And Olski, you have interpreted my words to mean that we can cause harm to someone if they're morally corrupt? Of course not. No. Jesus never caused harm to any being. And I'm not sure if I expressed that in a clear way. I hope that I have a chance to reiterate that the kind of expression that Jesus used to get the attention of the Pharisees and whatnot was non-violent. It didn't hurt anyone. And thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your balloons and paper crane. I'm not sure if I thanked you for this. I think I might have, but anyway, I would like to flap some wings a little bit. Here. There's some flaps of the wings for you of my paper crane. And thank you, Tatvamasi, for your half a dozen roses too. I would like to take a pause and acknowledge how sensitive this topic is for many. It's clear that as it gets brought up, many people feel empowered to express their experience, and that's wonderful. But regardless of what tradition we may belong to, one of the most universal laws is the golden rule, that we should treat others how we wish to be treated. And so in our faith, or the lack thereof, we would want people to approach with sincerity and curiosity, without feeling like our experience is to be invalidated. And I hope we can continue to echo that amongst the participants here. And thank you, Anazek, for your trio of roses too. Radhe, Radhe. Livia, you shared that you've had problems with your sleep for a few days. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that you find the rest that you need, as I'm sure you shall. Just a little patience. Lala Michelle, I would not go so far to say as that everyone here is wrong to have this argument, although I agree that it's not our duty to judge others and we should love. I imagine if someone said that I was wrong when expressing something that I fully believe in, that might feel invalidating, though it's very easy to use such terms when others may not do them, when others may not carry the same kind of patience that we do. But I hope that what is being shared is less of an argument as it is an exploration of our unique personal experiences. And there is a lot of contention because we all have lived such different lives, being born in different places, having different parents, different upbringings. And sometimes it can feel like one way to justify that difference between what I've experienced and what someone hasn't is to argue about it. But, we are all equally meant to be here, and our experiences are all equally valuable. I hope we can find a way of finding the truth that each perspective has to offer. And a little bit of a different topic, perhaps as an aside, cliche, you're wondering what I know about the golden ratio, if it has any deep meaning. The golden ratio is a beautiful constant in mathematics. The golden ratio is defined as a ratio in which you have two lengths, A to B, such that the ratio of A to B is the same as A plus B to A. And if that didn't make sense, don't worry about it. But the point is there's a beautiful kind of self-referential property of this ratio. And some people use it, pardon me, in art. And some people find ways in which this ratio is expressed in nature. It relates to the Fibonacci sequence. 1.618 thereabouts is the golden ratio. It shows up a lot in math, absolutely. I can't tell you the number of times where I've been solving some maybe differential equation and out popped the golden ratio, 1 plus the square root of 5 all over 2, which is its precise algebraic value. It's like a special guest, like pi or Euler's constant E or the imaginary number I. It does come up often in mathematics. And Jack, you were wondering if I spend a lot of time studying in my spiritual journey. Interestingly, I find that the greatest lessons come from being involved in life, Each moment can be an opportunity to learn something. And so I found a lot of thought, maybe thought isn't the right word, a lot of value in studying from the experiences of my life and those around me. It's very rare that I may pick up a book, especially a textbook or anything like that. And I am sorry that this topic of Jesus that we were covering in Christianity had upset some people. It is, unfortunately, a little ironic that the purpose of religion is to spread love, light, harmony, compassion for one another, and yet it all too often happens that these concepts only bring rise to a lot of strife between people, points of contention. So I think that's a very humbling aspect of this conversation we've shared together today, that those who wish to share their perspective, we can ask ourselves, have we brought more peace into this space? Have we brought more love? And we can answer that by looking at how other people responded. That did they react? Did they get upset by the words we shared? If so, then maybe we can do some introspection. Ask, how can we approach this topic differently so that I accommodate their perspective, so it doesn't feel like I'm invalidating them. And thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your star as well. Radhe, Radhe. And I love what Cliché's addition to the conversation is, that whether you follow something or not, just try and find the meaning behind things. I love that. There is meaning in each of our words, even if it appears that our words are in disagreement with each other. And I love your selfless sentiment, Starlight Wow, that you pray for the awakening of all beings, that they may discover their true nature. And I love that too, Miss Bliss. The Creator is a general term. You can call it what you want, as long as there's faith. That's what matters. And that's a beautiful moment of humility, Lala Michelle. And I'm sorry that you felt invalidated, but I'm happy to hear that there is an acknowledgement of the way of wording things better, and you weren't expected to say things any differently. We can use this as an opportunity to explore other ways of expressing ourselves. And what a beautiful thing to apologize in case that you offended anyone, even though you were the one that felt invalidated too. I hope that we can find a path that validates everyone. I'm happy that you echo that sentiment, Olivia, that faith matters, respect matters, and understanding. And Cliche, you shared too that the word faith has many meanings, but if each day you better yourself and help others, is that faith? And that's a good reminder too, Starlight Wow, that it's hard to phrase things in such limited characters, and also keep up with the fact that the chat is always scrolling by. We feel rushed to get something that's important to us. And thank you for sharing your apology to Polly, and your love for everyone, and your wish for you to see them in heaven with you. I think that's beautiful, and I totally respect that. Inevitable, thank you for your trio of roses too. Radhe, Radhe. And Bloom, thank you for your heart me. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. And Starlight Wow, thank you for your quintet of whipped coffees and quartet of applause. Here's some claps for all of you too. I'm happy you find this space wholesome, raging Ruski. I love seeing respectful discourse too, and I hope to do my best at providing more of it and learning from the ways in which I could have been more respectful. And Lisa, you shared that you'd like to apologize for everyone who didn't apologize. That's so sweet of you. Lisa, you were wondering if I ever have bad days. Of course, I'm only human. A bad day is part of what it means to discover a good day. Bad days, good days, there's just days that are lessons and days that are blessings. And Polly, you were wondering if I have any faith. Of course. Yeah, I have a lot of faith. I've been really liking that show that came out recently. I don't know if you watched it, The Chosen, which started as a bit of a indie project but has become multinational, about the life of the Christ through the disciples. Yeah, a wonderful show, and because of that, I recently started doing the Lord's Prayer in the morning. I have a lot of respect for Christian tradition, and there's certainly so much truth in it. I just have the same kind of sentiment for other traditions, and I don't expect everyone to see the same way I do, but it's funny, I feel like that divinity in the Christ is the same divinity that people find in different cultures, just in different ways. And I love that feeling. It makes me feel like we're all part of one big religion, and that's just our own humanity. And I love the way that I heard this person say once that humanity is our uniting religion. Breath is our uniting prayer. And that light within that illumines our consciousness and the life we have to live is our uniting divinity. Thank you, Starlight Wow, for your quartet of ice creams. Radhe, oh Radhe. While you share, and you're very welcome. I'm happy to respect you. It's the least I could do. You share that you go preaching in other lives and you get a lot of hate for it. I am sorry to hear that. You certainly don't deserve any hate. But it is only natural that sometimes we express ourselves in a way that other people get defensive. And I think since you feel empowered to share the love and light of the Christ, that it's good to reflect on each interaction and look for ways in which we can bring that love and light without walls coming up and people trying to defend each perspective. Thank you, Starlight Wow, for your hand hearts as well. There's some for you. Radhe, Radhe. And goodbye, Cliche. Thank you for wishing me an awesome day. All the same for you. And Daydream, you were wondering if we can do a mantra together. Absolutely. Actually, that's how I wanted to end our live today. So why don't we start the process of bringing this live stream to a close? I'll answer Billy's question first, though. You were wondering if my family follows any specific religion when I was growing up. For transparency, my family is not religious. Though we did go to church, we did pray sometimes, practice celebrations like Christmas, and there were Buddha statues around the house, so maybe we practiced multiple different faiths. And in fact, my mother even lit the menorah of Judaism one year. I thought that was very neat. So my mother was a little bit of everything, but nothing specific. And my father was like the complement of that. He was nothing. My mother was everything. My father was nothing. And it is between nothing and everything that I was born. Thank you, Sarah Lynn, for your quintet of roses too. Radhe, oh Radhe. But yeah, my parents were supportive of me finding a path that made me happy. All they wanted for me was to discover what appeared as a path forward to bring forth the greatest light in my life. And now I feel like a little bit of everything and nothing thanks to that. Okay, I would like to ask you all my question of the day, if you're interested. Just a little question and answer session. And then I'm gonna read another section of our book. And then I'd like to end with a mantra session. Thank you, Anazek, for your finger heart. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. My question is, upon seeing what calms the mind, and hello Chelsea, I'm happy you could relate with that too, Olski and Egypt. Daydream, you share this stream. Well, I'm very grateful that such calmness is afforded in this space. I think that's a bit of a miracle, to be honest. Your true love, shares Olski. I love that. Patterness, you share your dog Bodhi. And what a beautiful name for your dog. I love that. And thank you, Sarah Lynn, for another heart, me too. Radhe, Radhe. Lil Holystone, you share the waves crashing onto the beach and receding back into the depths. It is very calming. It, you share mangas calm you, and you love reading. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. And thank you, Strawberries, for your heart, me too. Namah Shakti Shivaya. Polly, you share breeze outside, and not to make people cringe, but the Lord. No, that's a good answer. I like that. I believe you. Hello, Phi Omega. You share the sea as well. Thank you, Starlight Wow, for your quintet of finger hearts. Kalikaye Namaha. Starlight Wow, you add cuddles with your children calm your mind, and breath calms your mind. Those are great answers. Thank you, Strawberries, for your hand hearts as well. Ganganapataye Namaha. Lauren, you share a clean house. Yeah, the good one. Gaia, you share a structure of unforbidden, everlasting love. Oh, that's a powerful one you've shared. Oh my goodness, I'm a diva. I forgot that gift existed. Thank you, Daydream, for that. Ram Ram. Candy, you share faith and love, some songs, nature sounds, and talking to God. I'm happy to hear that for you. Your eyelids share Saturnus. Nice. I see what you did there. And Billy, you share nature. Trees, sky, moon, stars, sunrise and sunset, rain, sun, showers, rainbows. Just to name a few. I like that. Inevitable, you share breathing with intention. It's beautiful too. Miss Bliss, you and Polly are both wondering what the language I'm chanting. It's a language known as Sanskrit, which is one of the oldest languages in the world and actually is still spoken today. Just like in some places, people still recite the original, maybe Aramaic of the Old Testament or the Greek of the New Testament. Sanskrit also serves as a liturgical language for preserving ancient holy texts. In this case, something called the Vedas, which are also revered by many as revelations by the divine, just of a different place, a different time. And the mantras that I share are in the same language, and they mean things like Radhe or Radhe, salutations to the divine feminine, Hariom Tat Sat, that one with the power to create, preserve, destroy, that is the truth. Things like that. Om Ganganapataye means salutations to the remover of obstacles, may your path be free of them. Things like that. And Starlight Wow, thank you for your 6 cloud breads too. Radhe Radhe. Lowering lighting calms your mind. Here, I just lost the comment. Where did it go? Who said that? Hi, Virgin, you said that. Sorry. It's very interesting that Sanskrit is so old and yet still spoken today, which is fascinating for a whole other reason, that from thousands of years ago up to this point, there has been someone who continues to speak it. I love to see culture preserved like that, even though it has undergone changes. And yeah, Hebrew too is a very spiritual language, of course. The words of Genesis were first written down in Hebrew. Very spiritual language. You daydream for another rose. And good night, Polly. Thank you for your blessings. All the same for you. You also asked if you could ask a question. You're welcome to if you are still here. Otherwise, be my guest and going to sleep. Lala, you share me, honestly. Well, that makes me happy to know that I don't annoy you. All I could hope for is to be someone that does not make the mind agitated. Alright, I wanted to thank you all for exploring this topic with me. I'll pause it for now. That is an interesting question, Polly. Well, being in Canada, I'm not entirely familiar about what kind of politics happen in the country south of us. You live in Canada too? Oh, interesting. I trust that people make a decision informed based on their experiences, and I try to leave politics to each person's discretion. For me, I feel like the greatest change happens from our heart, and from our heart we affect our loved ones, and from our loved ones our neighborhood, from that the greater community, and it spreads from there. It's okay. It's a genuine question. I'm sorry that I don't have more things to say about that. Alright. May you have a beautiful sleep. May you fall asleep in peace, and may you wake up in peace. Nick, thank you for your rose too. Jai Sitaram. Alright, I would like to read from another section of The Hidden Power in Humans, all about chakras and kundalini. And hello, Orla. We finished up reading about the Anahata Chakra, the heart center. There's so much to discuss relating to all of the energies in our heart. Now we're starting the next chakra, which is the Vishuddha, the throat center. So be prepared for a dump of information. Let's see here. Let's start with a beautiful image of the symbolism in the Vishuddha Chakra. You may notice various themes like blue lotus petals, and if you look closely, there are even mantras in each one, which we'll read. And of course, a main mantra here, which in Devanagari is pronounced as Ram, a very guttural kind of sound. There's also some different forms of the divine to the top left and top right. And it looks like DNA even in the middle. But, oh, that's right, it's not DNA. It's the Pingala and Ida Nadi, two rivers of current that go around our Shushumna Nadi at the center of our spine. That's a good question, Polly. chakras are a part of yoga, and many Hindus practice yoga. But as the yogi of this book says at the start, that this tradition of yoga can be used to enhance any religion. And actually, just in the last chapter, we were reading a quote from Jesus, I think, if I can refer back to it. Yeah, the quote where Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Actually, in that chapter, there was quotes from many different religions, which was cool. From Sikhism, a quote from Guru Nanak too, and from Hinduism, a quote from Sri Krishna. I love that yoga kind of unites many of these traditions. Alright, I'm just going to go over, like a list, all of the different symbolisms that exist in this. And over the next couple of weeks, we'll unbox them slowly. But here they are. The qualities and symbols of the Vishuddha Chakra. First of all, the position in the body is the throat. Color is blue or violet, representing breath and infinity. Its tattva, its element, is akasha, space. Its primary mantra is Ham. And I'm sure we'll get to what the Vishuddha means in just a moment. Dear Tattvam Asi. Its sub-mantras are as follows, 16 of them. Im, rm, 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 aim, om, a, and aham. Sounds like I'm clearing my throat. Literally. So its lotus has 16 petals. The animal associated with it is a white elephant, representing pure wisdom. Its divinity is Brahma, the creator, consciousness. Its symbols include the moon, which represents the mind, feelings, and connection to the Bindu chakra, which we'll talk later in this book about. Its many qualities and aspects include detoxification, purification, manifestation of words. Positive aspects specifically include clarity, surmounting problems and inhibitions, linguistic skills and singing techniques, creativity. Its negative aspects include complexes, fears, and nervousnesses. Its prana, its energy, its vital breath in the body is associated with udana, which helps with the absorption of both solid and liquid foods. The level or plane of reality it refers to is Janarloka, which is the human plane, where we are. Its corresponding planet is Jupiter. Its principle is Spurana, which is the principle that corresponds to Brahma, creation. Its precious stone is rock crystal. Its metal is the liquid mercury. Mineral is silicon. Characteristic is bhaya, fear. Its sensitivity is nidra, dream. Its sense organ corresponds to shrotra, the ears, the principle representing direction and sense of hearing. Its indication is shabda, sound. Its taste is sour. In case you want to know what the throat chakra tastes like. No, just kidding. That's the taste that corresponds with this region. Its quality is dhavana, which means purifying, removing. Part of the body is roman, the hair. Organ is the vani, the mouth, the principle that represents agni, fire, and in this case representing speech. Our words can be like fire sometimes. Its secretion is lala, saliva. Its gland corresponds to the thyroid. Its plexus is the carotid, and other names include the throat center and the Kantha Kamala. Alright, Tattvamasi wanted to know what the Sanskrit refers to. It comes from Visha, which means impurity or poison, and Shuddhi, which means perfection. Supposed to perfect that which is impure. What the Vishuddha Chakra is symbolizing here. And yeah, the name of this book is The Hidden Power in Humans. Gonna, there, on this side. I don't know if my screen is covering it in any way, but cover is up there. The Vishuddha Chakra is associated in the vicinity of the larynx and is therefore also known as the throat chakra. It is a center of physical and spiritual purification. A story from the Puranas clearly illustrate the immense purificatory power of the Vishuddha Chakra. The Puranas are a collection of 18 ancient myths and sagas that come from Indian culture. Alright, let's explore this story, shall we? The Devas, the divine beings, and Asuras, the demonic beings, they wanted to raise the treasure Amrita, the nectar of immortality, which was hidden in the depths of the ocean, to the surface. They used Mount Mandara as the stirring stick and the world serpent Vasuki as the rope. The divine beings held the tail of the snake and the demonic beings held its head. In this way, they were able to churn the ocean of the world with their combined power. Numerous treasures and precious objects emerged from the ocean, and finally, the longed-for Amrita arose to the surface in a golden vessel. But the serpent they had used to churn the ocean spat out a deadly poison that was capable of destroying the whole earth. Quickly, the Devas caught it in a bowl so that it was not able to do any harm. But as they had absolutely no idea what to do with it or how they could permanently dispose of it, so to speak, they turned to Lord Shiva for help. Lord Shiva is the most gracious of the divine beings and will never refuse a request from anyone. He took the bowl of poison and drank it down to the very last drop. However, in the process, he did not swallow the poison, but held it in the Vishuddha Chakra and purified it by means of something called Ujjayi Pranayama and Jalandhara Bandha. Ujjayi Pranayama and Jalandhara Bandha are yogic techniques that have a strong purifying effect on the entire organism. They are described at the end of this chapter. In this way, he rid the world of a deadly peril. Through the poison, his throat was colored dark blue, and since that day, he has borne the nickname Nilakanta, the blue-throated one. There is a deep symbolism in this story. Our own negative thoughts and qualities are the demons. The divine beings, however, are our good qualities. Understanding, compassion, mercy, love, devotion, and wisdom. Both qualities exist within us, just as the nectar of divine wisdom and immortality and the poison of ignorance and earthly mortality exist simultaneously in this world. The ocean of the world propels us in two directions. one towards the divine, therefore towards goodness and light, and the other towards the destructive powers, the asuras. The serpent, Kundalini, represents both the lifetime that is at our disposal and the power, the Shakti, that brings the hidden treasure up from the depths of our inner being. Nowadays, numerous poisons are endangering the world. The destructive influence of humans on this planet increases daily through exhaust fumes, waste, radioactivity, poisonous chemicals, and much more. We urgently need the help of Lord Shiva to neutralize these poisons. This means that we humans should become conscious of our divine origin and protect and purify the environment with our quote-unquote Shiva consciousness. If we would like to live in a healthier way, nature must first recover. Fields, meadows, forests, rivers, lakes, and oceans. This is why yogis value highly living a healthy lifestyle in harmony with nature and following a vegetarian diet. To live as a vegetarian is an ethical principle, a question of responsibility for all living beings. In the Bible, it also says, "Thou shalt not kill," and this commandment does not exempt animals. Let's pause our reading of the hidden power in humans there for now, as we have introduced the Vishuddha Chakra, our throat center, corresponding, with many other things, our power of speech, communication, the ability to express oneself. Let's continue exploring it next time, but thank you all for listening. Namaste. And with that, we'll turn our attention to closing our Sangha. But thank you, dear Daydream, for your tiny. Yippee! And Vanessa, thank you for your flowers. Ariom Tatsat. And Fox, thank you for your trio of roses too. Jai Sitaram. And your another 6 roses. Thank you for that too. Thank you, Christopher, for your heart to me as well. Purusha's Mouth, you were wondering, what was I reading? I was reading this book by a yogi. That's a different kind of yogi. That's Pema Chodron, this kind of yogi, the hidden power in humans, chakras and kundalini. And if you ever wanted to listen to other parts of that book, all of the clips I have read so far have been uploaded to my YouTube channel. There are some Devanagari words Gregorji has shared. Maya yatam yat mama Kimbord Madhe Sanskritam Asti. I recognize some of those words. Mama means my. Asti means you are, I believe. Sanskritam refers to Sanskrit. So I think you posed some query about Sanskrit. You typed, I learned I have Sanskrit on my keyboard. Oh, that's what this word is. Keyboard. Of course, there's no keyboard in ancient times. We've just transliterated the English word keyboard. That's funny. And thank you for wishing me a nice day, Haru. All the best for you too. We wanted to ask how I would deal with the loss of someone. I suppose in the same way that we all deal with loss, and that's by grieving. That grief is not a sign that we've somehow done something wrong or that we don't know how to process. Grief is the processing itself of the love that we had dedicated to them, and now we have to learn to use that love for something different, or to give it to them in a new way. Since they are no longer a physical part of our life, we have to transform that love to something more spiritual. And if this question comes from a personal experience of yours, I am sorry to hear of this, and I trust that they will be with you always in another way. Now, yes, we will end our live stream with a mantra tonight. So tonight, we'll set this up. For that, I'm going to turn off the background music so that I don't become dissonant with it. Okay, let me reveal it. The mantra I've chosen for us to do today is this. That's the question of the day. Is this. So, today we will do 108 repetitions of Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. And we'll use a mala that is traditionally symbolic of the presiding form of the divine in this mantra, which is Kali, who represents the dark side of the mother that can sometimes be repressed, but is absolutely as valuable as any other form of the divine. So this black agate represents that. Some points that Sanskrit doesn't perfectly get reflected in Latin characters. So you might hear the Om kind of sound more like an A-U-N-G sound. Because actually that M here in Om and in this word here is not truly a labial nasal sound like M. It's just a pure nasal sound, and it follows into whatever position is next. So we would be making a guttural nasal sound since K is a guttural consonant. Another point here is that the L is something very beautiful, and it's a very rare sound. It's a rolled L. You've heard of rolled R's, but have you heard of a rolled L? It's a wonderful sound. Kring. And again, we have an anuswara, a nasalized sound before a K, so it becomes guttural. Kalikaye. And final note is that H at the end stands for an expulsion of breath, of visarga. So it's like the breath that you're still holding on to at the end of the mantra, you release. It might sound like an echo of the previous vowel, Namaha. And with that, we'll do 108 on this mala. Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. 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 Om Kling 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 Kalikaye Namaha. Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. Om Kling Kalikaye Namaha. I messed up a little bit there. I'll just do that one once more. Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. 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 Om Kring Kalikaye. My apologies. Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. 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 Thank you for listening. Oftentimes it's best, since each bead represents a repetition of that mantra, that if there is a way in which our mind drifts and we can come back to it, we just repeat that. So thank you for your patience for my mistakes in that. Yeah. You know, I realized while I was chanting throughout that I didn't give you the meaning of that. That Om, of course, is Om, the cosmic syllable, the Pranava, as it's called. Prim, along with the other rolled Krim, is a bija syllable, a seed sound for Kali, which is the presiding form of the divine in this mantra. Kalikaye means to Kali, and Namaha means salutation. So, Om, we invoke the essence of Kali. To Kali, salutations. Thank you for listening. And with that, we will be bringing our live stream to a close very shortly. And to those who joined while we were chanting and maybe were unfamiliar with that, if it sounded like an experience maybe different from your own, and judging by some of the comments, maybe one that seems to be different from your own spiritual tradition, do know that this is inclusive space for every tradition, as we were talking about through this live stream. This mantra, like all mantras, first are something for our mind to focus on, to give it something to center around, and that invokes a sentiment of peace. And it also invites the symbolism in the sounds to make their way into our life. Kali is a form of the divine as a mother, and as a form of the mother which is very fierce, that is fighting for us. And although at times she may be scary, it's good to have a scary mother at times for our own protection. Moments like that. Dear Caleb, I saw that you came in with lots of love and sharing your faith in the Christ, and that's beautiful. And I appreciate R for kind of setting a little bit of a boundary that, you know, the space is not entirely meant for sharing perspectives that might seem exclusive to others. But dear R, I hope you know that everyone has an equal chance of expressing themselves here, just as you do too. And my space is one where we can find collaboration in our experiences, no matter what your spiritual path is or the lack thereof. Very happy to invite different spiritual traditions here to share what's unique in their own. And I love the different kinds of paths that we are all on. Just as a form of moderation, because I consider the space to be an all-inclusive one, if there is discussion which inherently limits, is exclusive to another person's path, then that path of exclusivity inherently contradicts the inclusivity of this space. So I do reserve the ability to mute those whom are degrading from other people's experiences. And in that way, I hope that we all find common ground to see the truth in others, first and foremost, to find value in each other. And if there are things that can be worked on for the betterment of our spiritual journey, then that's something each of us have to work on individually in our own time. And Fuzz Poet, you ask, what about Satanism? Often this response arises when I say that all paths are valid. See, Satanism, of course, is something a little more radical than other paths, but as many people know, Satanism by itself is kind of a myth, that there are very, very few people that actually worship the devil. Symbolically, we may worship devilish concepts like money, like power. In that way, we can draw symbolism there as a demonic entity. But the majority of what's labeled as Satanism is just a countercultural movement to provoke people who, from traditions that use the word Satan in their scriptures, gets them out of their element. And there have been a lot of so-called Satanist movements that are for social justice, to counteract maybe some of the dogma that may be in religion. And the element of truth in that is absolutely there, even though it may be very provocative. I think there's a way of understanding the value in each of our experiences too. But the concept of a devil is, yes, older than many religions, and it's one that is very symbolic. I think it's very easy to, just as we associate all that is good with an entity, we may call that the divine or God. We may associate the complement, the opposite of that, with an entity too, call it the devil. But in this space, I put emphasis on the positive, that negativity, if we go in search of trying to minimize it, we'll just end up getting more and more negative ourselves. So I leave room for discussion of those things elsewhere, but in this space, discussion of positivity, that to me is enough to dissolve negativity. Because what is negativity if not just a place where more positivity could be? And I love what you shared, Fuzz Poet, too, that absolutely. In a sense, we are all divine. Lowercase g God. Of course, we're not responsible for the creation of our whole universe, but what a beautiful point you have shared. And that absolutely comes from some very ancient traditions, especially in the East, of recognizing our Paramatma, our higher self, as being one with Brahman, that Godhead. But of course, we have our own individuality too, and with that comes virtues like humility being important, and looking for the divine in everyone around you too, not just ourself. Thank you everyone for being in the Sangha. We will close today soon, but thank you, dear Fox, for my finger heart that you sent earlier, and Hybrid Jen for your quintet of fires. Radhi or Radhi. And dear Anazek, thank you for your quintet of roses. Thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your quintet of fires. Did I thank you for that? I think I did. Thank you for quintet of roses that you also sent. Radhi or Radhi. Thank you, Alcoholic Jesus, for your finger heart as well. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. And dear Michelle, thank you for your pair of roses too. And Nick, thank you for your rock star gift. That's very cool. Mani Padme Hum. Tatvamasi. Thank you for your trio of roses too. Jai Sita Ram. And Hybrid Jen, thank you for another rose too. Marlon, you share that when you grow up, you want to be just like me, even though you are 8 years older than me. That's something very beautiful. Well, I hope in all the ways I can learn from you too, I can grow in the various dimensions that you so beautifully express as well. Thank you, Fuzz Poet, for your 1, 2, 3, 4 confettis. Kring Kalikaye Namaha. And Michelle, thank you for your trio of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hello, Koli. Goodbye. As we are ending soon. Nice to see you. In Egypt, you thank me for always being so inclusive and welcoming. And thank you for wishing me a good night, day, afternoon. For me, it's nighttime. Almost midnight, in fact. I imagine it's maybe very late for others, or very early, or who knows what. Thank you for your blessings, Deanna. Sorry, I added an A in your name. Dina. Beautiful name. Oh, no worries at all, Fuzz Poet. I trust your good intentions. Thank you for your love painting to Hybrid Jen. Hare Krishna. With that, I offer this live stream on my YouTube channel, in case any of you wish to find any value in it there. I know many people wish to attend, but due to time constraints or my own inability to go live earlier, that they can't, and so it's there for you, along with all of my previous live streams. Always free, without any ads, and dedicated playlists there for our readings and meditations too, in case you wanted to listen to those, always. I just recently uploaded the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is a beautiful song, on my ASMR YouTube channel too. Spiritual scripture, the 13th chapter goes into sorry, I'm losing my voice after 3.5 hours of this live stream. The 13th chapter went into Prakriti and Purusha, which is beautiful. There, it's whispered with rain sounds in the background in case you want to relax to that. Also linked in the link tree in my bio, but the username of that channel is Yamsox, ASMR. Lokeroronov. Name is always one that I'm challenged by, but I like it. Just a late live today, but I hope to do earlier lives again. Thank you, Starlight Wow, for your tiny tippy. Good night, Purusha's Mouth. Thank you for being here, Dina. Good night, Starlight Wow. Good night, Michelle. Bye, Benjamin. May you have a good tennis game, or... And namaste, Anazek. Thank you for your love, Fuzz Poet. Thank you for being here, Inevitable. Good night, Nick. Thank you, Koli, for your heart me. Jai Sitaram. May this live stream be an offering to the divinity within all of you. You all have a wonderful rest of your night, or morning, or afternoon, or evening. Meow Muste, that's cute, Marlon. Good night, Daydream. If I could say good night to each one of you one by one, I would. Good night, Magdalene. Beautiful emoji, you Cybergen. Thank you for that. Thank you for your ice cream loving guidance too. Alright, with that, may you all have a wonderful rest of your present moment. Namaste.